What type of content actually performs well on the LinkedIn newsfeed? This is a question we get all the time from businesses as they invest time creating content for LinkedIn and try to understand how to increase their visibility, increase authority, and ultimately generate more leads for their business. The question always becomes, what kind of content should I create? What's actually going to show up on the newsfeed? So to find out more, we actually did an analysis of over 100 posts on the LinkedIn newsfeed to understand what's showing up, what kind of content types work, how often do they show up? Is it better to be a company or a business? Should you put links in there? All the questions that come up when it comes to LinkedIn algorithm. We did a report, and today I'm going to share 3 key findings with you. If you like today's video, be sure to like it, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss future content. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. We personally respond to them and we love talking to you. So any algorithm on any social media platform is a little bit of a black box. We don't fully know what behind the scenes is working as far as the small little tweaks. There's probably likely thousands, if not tens of thousands of different factors that actually impact what shows up on a feed. But generally speaking, what you can do is actually trying to find out what are the main big variables that have a large impact on visibility and authority on a social media platform. And specifically for businesses or business to business companies, something like LinkedIn is a really important platform to show up on. And again, the algorithm is always changing, but we want to get a snapshot of where it's at and try to understand right now in 2026, as we look at the LinkedIn algorithm, what's actually showing up there. So we did a study of over 100 posts on different people's accounts, to not have any kind of bias as far as the algorithm goes, and looked at what's actually showing up in the feed, what kind of things impact visibility, and how can you, as someone who's trying to create content and grow your business, take advantage of that. We have a full report down in the description of this post, but for today, I'm going to walk through 3 of the key findings that we found out. So finding number 1 is that LinkedIn is a people-first platform. What we mean by that is that when we look at the posts, 68% of them were from individuals and 32% were from companies. So generally speaking, people show up more than companies do. This is something we talk to our clients about often when they're starting a LinkedIn strategy, because a lot of them want to start with their company pages. They want to increase that company page follower count. And yes, that makes sense because you're paying money to grow your marketing, so you want to be your company brand. But at the end of the day, when it comes to effectiveness of actually showing up, the best thing to do is actually get your team started on LinkedIn and getting them creating content. And this showed in the data. People showed up a lot more than company pages did. It doesn't mean to ignore your company page altogether. Obviously, it still had an impact, especially if you put ad dollars behind it. But at the end of the day, LinkedIn is trying to show people and having people connect with other people on their platform. All right, key finding number 2 is that visual elements dominate the feed. One of the things we looked at was what type of post type was showing up in the feed. We did images, videos, text, carousels, events, and articles. And what we found was actually kind of shocking to even us. We assumed that video was going to be the top performer, as LinkedIn, as recently in the last 12 months, has came out and said they want to prioritize video. What we actually found was that images were the most prominent post type. At 40% of the feed was image posts. Then next on the line after that was video at 22%. After that was text at 13%. And then after that were actually reshares or reposts at 10%. And then the rest of it was made up of carousels, events, and articles. So this key finding showed us a couple things. 1, images are super relevant, and they're very, I wouldn't say easy, but easy way to show up on the feed. These can be things like selfies, pictures of you at events, or even AI-generated images. And then after that, of course, videos are still very important, and we actually want to prioritize them still because they have more of that human element. It's a great way to build trust with your audience. But those 2 things put together, images and videos, really show that this multimedia or more visual way of showing up in the feed is incredibly powerful. So as you think about creating content for LinkedIn, I highly encourage you to always put an image or a video in there. Even if you have some simple text that you want to put out there, try to find some sort of image that's related to what you're doing and post it along with your content. It doesn't mean to not do articles or do events and reshares, that type of thing, but if you want to show up on the feed, think about visuals. And finally, key finding number 3 is that links kill your reach. When we were looking at the feed, 81% of the organic posts that were there did not include links. Now, obviously, the data we did not see is how many posts are being created with links versus how many are showing up with links. But generally speaking, it looks like The posts that had links tend to perform less well than posts that do not have links. Now, this is always a game of impressions versus conversions. If you want to send someone to a web page to do something, having the link is obviously very important, but more likely than not, it's going to come with reduced reach. So trying to play that game is what's more important, impressions or conversions. There's not always a right answer, but again, generally speaking, the implication of this is if you want more eyeballs on your content, try not to include links.
There has to be another way.
And there are workarounds here too, right? So one thing you can do is have a link as a custom button in your profile so that it shows up on the feed and it shows up on your profile. In other words, have some sort of call to action so that if someone looks at your content, they can go to your profile and then go to the external link. You can obviously drop links and comments, but that tends to get buried. Or you can have multiple different posts, some that are organic without links and some later down the road that you add links. There's no perfect answer, but again here, the data is showing that not having links is a good thing for your reach on LinkedIn. Okay, so those are 3 key findings from our 2026 LinkedIn Algorithm Report. If you want access to the full report with all of our findings and all of our thoughts on there, again, go down to the description. We have a link down there. You can fill out a form and we'll email you the full report. If you have any questions, drop them below. I look forward to talking to you next time.